Welcome back to our tool-assisted run, where we're going to save all the fleas, complete true ending, and do it with as low equipment as possible. So we just picked up the Hunter's Evolution, which is going to increase our damage. We killed that guy there because we needed a few shards. That gives us exactly enough shards to turn in for the Bone Bottom quest. And now we're getting the Snare Setter. This is required for true ending, and the Snare Setter is also a pretty useful tool in a lot of other ways. So we'll get to see using it up here shortly. So this is a hard save at the Evo, so we do need to walk out of here. But it doesn't take too long. Especially with wings, it gives us a lot of flexibility. You might notice that we're able to do these moves where we harpoon directly into a ledge, which you can use to insta-climb a ledge without having to do the slow climb animation. So we have to break these shard bundles there because we needed exactly 300 shards. So that's all we needed. And then as long as we're here, we're also going to go ahead and pick up a couple of other quests. So we're going to get the flint beetles, and we're also going to fight the skull tyrant. And as long as we're here, it's actually pretty convenient to get the first flint beetle. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Thankfully, it's not too far in. And because it takes a while for this thing to spawn, we're able to use Snare Setter. Snare Setter actually does quite a bit of damage, and so anytime we have a situation where we're waiting on something before we can actually be effective and do damage, it could make a lot of sense to use the Snare Setter. But that was the only one that was convenient to get from here. So now we're going to go ahead and go to Bellheart. And from Bellheart, we can then freely head down and finish the Silver Bells quest that we picked up earlier. Now, we're going to manipulate the nature of reality here, because normally it's random which of these drop silver bells, but with RNG manipulation, they all drop silver bells, which is very convenient for us, since otherwise this quest takes an obnoxiously long time because of the randomness. But with a little RNG manip, we're able to do it with just one little loop around. Fun fact, these things just kind of stay floating in the air there for a while. They don't even have a hitbox while they are in that state, so you can just zip on through there. And I believe that's the last of the bell. Oh no, there's one more bell. And then this one, we conveniently get an early control on. So now, we are going to make our way around to Skull Tyrant. The movement through here is a little bit awkward, but not too bad. We got a little bit of silk there. Not a lot, but a little bit. Anytime we can get silk is nice, because it allows us to do our harpoons more often. And again, we made good use of the Snare Setter there to do some initial damage. And then we can't pogo this guy, so we can't do our kind of pogo hammer effect. But we can still do pretty good damage. So, quick, easy fight. So now, we are going to get the other flint beetles, but first we are going to stop by the fleas. We need to send them on to the next leg of their journey, which is going to be up in Greymore. So we talk to them, complete the quest, which is to save the fleas. And then now we'll go ahead and tell them to travel, but we won't go with him, because we have some other stuff to take care of here. Now we can go up and we can get the next two flint beetles, as well as some fleas. Or Flea, I believe. Some very funny movement through here. Wings really changes your movement quite a bit. And again, we can use the snare setter. In this case, we get a double kill with it. Get a couple of shards too, or one shard. Those will be useful because we're going to be using snare setter in a couple places. And so that will help to pay for it. In the long run, we are going to need a bunch of shards for one final quest. But that one we're going to have excess rosaries for, so we're basically just going to buy the shard bundles we need for it. And then this is the last of the flint beetles. Pretty quick. And now we can head to Hunter's March. So we have a flea that we want to get in here. And we also need to head down to the Deep Docks Bellway. So we're just going to head through here. There's one flea up here that we can get, using our wall swimming technique to use those double chained reverse wall jumps. And we actually end up skipping the necklace through here, even though it's pretty easy to get. We just don't need it. We're going to have so many rosaries from the courier quests. But we do have to go through this arena, and we don't get to have Chakra help with the arena this time. So we're just going to have to take care of it ourselves, but we're pretty quick. We do have pretty good damage right now because we have the Evo from the Hunter's evolution. And that makes these fights go pretty quickly. It's actually interesting because the Evo means that pogo hammers do more damage than spears. And so we really only want to use the soak spears when we have cases where we can hit multiple enemies, or where we're not able to use pogo hammers because the enemy is protected against pogo, for example. But otherwise, we're wanting to use pogo hammers pretty much as possible. And it also means that it gives us extra silk to use on harpoons, which helps with our movement. So now we are headed up to fight the Savage Beastfly. Everybody's favorite enemy in their casual, I'm sure. And the Savage Beastfly is going to be a prerequisite for Savage Beastfly 2, which is a quest point that we need. Lots of fun moving through here. And you're going to notice that Hornet is actually an airborne combatant. Going on the ground is overrated. So we use a combination of pogo hammers, and then where needed, we use the harpoon to stay with the enemy. But for the most part, it's just pogo hammer constantly. Savage Beastfly has no protection against pogo hammer, so it's pretty quick fight. And that's Savage Beastfly down. So now we need to get a few more things. There is a flea by the dash pickup. Normally you would be able to get this when you get dash, but because we're in low percent, we never get the dash ability. But we still have to go through here because we need to get that flea. So we're doing that now. This is a very short arena, especially with this much damage. And we're left with plenty of soak to use for nice fast harpoons through here. It's a little awkward moving through here, but harpoons are still quite efficient. Awooo! And now we are going to head down to the Deep Docks Bellway, because we're going to need to come back down here later for Act 3 stuff. So we do want this Bellway. And this bellway is also adjacent to another flea. So this flea's a little bit spicy, at least with normal movement, but with wings you just go around. Don't even need to go through the lava. Go ahead and call Era. And then head back to Bellheart. So at this point we have some quests that we can turn in. And we are also going to buy some shards in order to continue using the snare setter, because we have some other cases where we want to use it. We do get some rosaries from this. And we have enough rosaries that we should be able to turn in the upgrade quest as well. Oh no, we do that one later. It's hard to keep track of everything in this game. There's so many requirements. Yeah, now we go ahead and break those, and then we fix our snare setter, and so now we have a nice, fresh set of snare setters to use. So now we are going to travel up to Sinner's Road for a couple of things. The main objective is that we need to get the Courier, because we're going to do a lot of the other cleanup in parallel with the Courier quests. And then we also have a flea that we need to get, which is in the mist. So normally you only go to the mist if you're going to go through and fight Phantom, and use that as the entry to the Citadel. But in our case, we can't fight Phantom because we can't get the cross-stitch ability. That would be a %. But we still need to go through. Here we're going to skip this arena. We're just going to travel up there and go around. We're actually going to skip that arena several times over the course of this run, in various ways. So here, we do have a flea here we need to save, unfortunately. We save Krat, because Krat does count as one of the fleas. So quick little detour. And then we can head up to Sinner's Row. Lots of fun movement through here. We're able to get a couple of needle hits on these rat roaches, which gives us a little bit of extra silk to move with. We aren't going to get the key and free the prince at this point. We're actually going to get our simple key in Sands of Karak, which is a change from a lot of TE routes. So we open that while we're waiting on the Courier, and then we go ahead and free the Courier. And this gives us access to all of the Courier quests, which are going to be the majority, or quite a few of our quest points are going to come from Couriers. And now we're headed to the Mist. Lots of fun movement through here with wings and harpoons. And so for the Mist, obviously we have RNG manipulation, so we're not going to use the usual way to go through the Mist. We're just gonna fall through. This has been manipulated for a very particular sequence of rooms, and it's a sequence of rooms that allows for very efficient traversal without much horizontal movement, because it's mostly falling. And so we fall through there, and that's it. That was the Mist. And now we just need to make our way through this room in order to make it up to the Flea. We ignore the bench because we are going to be save and quitting out of here. We can use our wall swimming to do very efficient movement through these. Little extra silk here we could use for harpoons. And then there's our flea. We've got a lot more to come. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and hit the bell if you want to be notified for the upcoming episodes. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Thank you again for watching.